What is up, guys? Welcome back to my channel, and today we're going to be getting into my March 5th edition of the NCAA Bracketology. So let's get into this. Another crazy weekend of college basketball. A lot of upsets in there, a lot of crazy games. We are right here starting in just like 5 days. Yeah, we are only 2 Sundays away from 2 weeks away from Selection Sunday. So still have a decent amount. Still a lot of stuff can happen, but we are getting there for sure. If we look at the bracket watch here, top overall seed does remain Purdue right there. Obviously, playing great basketball in the Big Ten, beating Michigan State over the weekend. Then we have the first team out, St. John's, trying to climb their way back up. Last team in is Wake Forest. If we look at the bubble here, though, last 4 byes, we do have Colorado State, Florida Atlantic, Villanova now into this field here. TCU, who had a very tough loss to BYU. They were up by 17 at halftime, and they lost that game to my BYU Cougars. That could have been a massive win for them. Now they are still fighting for tournament position. And then we have the last 4 in. We have Seton Hall, New Mexico, Virginia, and then Wake Forest. First for out, we have St. John's, Utah, Providence, and Iowa. Iowa's been a sneaky team climbing up. Then the next for out, we have Colorado, Pittsburgh. There they are, Drake. If you watched my conference tournament videos, just came out with the Missouri Valley tournament predictions video yesterday. Check that one out. But I said in that video that I do believe even if Drake doesn't win their conference, they deserve to be in the mix for a tournament spot. And then Memphis is trying to climb their way back up. But that is the bubble. Let's look at the bracket here. Starting out with the movement here, we do have Central Connecticut new to the field in the play-in. Wake Forest is going to be falling down to the play-in, as well as Seton Hall. In the Midwest region, Mississippi State down to the 9. Obviously, Purdue has that 1 seed there. Then we have Clemson dropping down to a 5 seed. They lose this week to Notre Dame. And then we have Appalachian State dropping down to the 13. Oakland going to be jumping up to a 14 seed. We have Dayton falling to a 7 seed, continuing to struggle in the A-10. And then we have Oklahoma dropping down to a 10. They had that crazy, unfortunate loss to Houston where Jamal Shead had that buzzer beater shot and sent Oklahoma packing at home. And then we have Sam Houston falling to a 15. In the East region, we do have UConn as that number 1 seed. Eastern Kentucky jumping up to the 16. By the way, UConn just absolutely demolished Seton Hall on Sunday. And then Princeton's going to be new to the field as a 12. Alabama falls to a 4 seed. They lost to Tennessee at home. Were leading for the majority of that game. Couldn't finish it off in the end, though. Then we have South Carolina jumping up to a 6 seed. Vermont falling to a 14 seed. Gonzaga new to the field there as a 7 seed. Beating St. Mary's right there. They're a big-time team in the West Coast Conference, as well as Villanova new to the field. That would be 2 historic franchises going at it in the first round right there in that region, plus North Carolina waiting the winner as long as they get past 15 seed Colgate. All right, in the South region, we have Houston as that number 1 seed, as I mentioned, surviving a scare to Oklahoma. Then we have Colorado State falling to a 9. Auburn's going to be dropping down to a 5 seed. Utah State jumps up to a 6. Duke jumping up to a 3 seed, beating North Carolina State last night. And then we have TCU falling to a 10 seed, and Quinnipiac new to the field as a 15. Final region, West region, we have Arizona as the number 1 seed. Nevada going to be jumping up to the 8 seed. Illinois is going to be jumping up to a 4. Florida climbs to a 6 despite the loss to South Carolina. But that's them, and that is all the movement. So let's get into our predictions now. And that's going to start out with the matchup between New Mexico and Wake Forest. I do have Wake Forest winning that matchup. And then give me Central Connecticut to pull off the win over Norfolk State. Virginia Seton Hall, I am going to give the edge still to Seton Hall in that game. And then I do have Grambling State knocking off Little Rock. All right, for a spot in the round of 32, you got to go with Purdue to beat Central Connecticut. Texas versus Mississippi State, 8 versus a 9 seed. Interesting battle here. I do think I'm going to go with Texas. Texas had an opportunity to get a massive win versus Baylor last night, but they choke. We're up by like 14 with like 10 minutes left or something. Couldn't finish it off. But I do like them over Mississippi State. And then Clemson versus Richmond, 5 versus a 12. Give me the 5-seeded Clemson. Clemson's a team I could see get upset in the first round. I don't think so, though, to Richmond. And then give me Kentucky against Appalachian State. I do have the 11 over 6 here. Give me South Florida over Wisconsin. Wisconsin loses to Illinois over the weekend. Just still not a believer in Wisconsin at this point. And then Baylor, I do like them over Oakland. Give me Oklahoma in the slight 10 over 7 over Dayton. And then Marquette, I think, beats Sam Houston. All right, Arizona, Grambling State, 1 versus a 16. Give me Arizona. Michigan State, Nevada, I am going to give this one. I do still have faith in Michigan State, so I'm going to give them that win, but that one's a tight one. Give me BYU to beat Grand Canyon. Then I'm going to go with the 13 over 4 upset here. Give me Sanford to beat Illinois. I know Illinois just beat Wisconsin over the weekend. I'm still not sold on Illinois, though. I think this is a team that could very well get upset in the first round, and I do have one right there with Sanford pulling off the win. But then we do have Florida beating Wake Forest. Creighton, I think, would beat High Point. Also, Creighton got that big win versus Marquette over the weekend. Then give me Boise State to beat Florida Atlantic. And Iowa State, I think, would beat Eastern Washington. All right. UConn versus Eastern Kentucky. Give me UConn. And then I'm going to go with the 9 over 8 here with Nebraska beating Texas Tech. Whoops. Okay. We're going to go with the 12 over 5 here. Give me Princeton. A Princeton team I'm a believer in pulling off the win over Washington State. Washington State's an intriguing team, but another one of these 5 seeds that I think could very well get upset in the first round, and that's what I have happening there. But then I do have Alabama pulling off the win over UC Irvine. South Carolina, I think, would hold off Seton Hall. And then I do have Vermont pulling off the 14 over 3. Why not? I mean, I'm just going to be honest with Kansas fans. I don't think this is their year. I think this is a team that the Jayhawks, it's not the same Jayhawk disciplined type team that I think we're accustomed to seeing. And I think we could see it in this tournament, especially I mentioned this in my American East predictions video. Check out that one. But Vermont, they've been dominating that conference for a while. They've been playing good basketball in the NCAA tournament as well. Haven't quite taken the step to get the upset. I think this could be their year. So give me Vermont to upset Kansas and advance on. And then Gonzaga versus Villanova, 7 versus a 10. I do have Gonzaga winning that one. And then give me North Carolina beating Colgate. Okay, down in the West or the South region, give me Houston to beat South Dakota State. Northwestern Colorado State, I am going to give that one to the 8-seeded Northwestern. As much as I like McNeese State, I just got to go with Auburn in that game. I want to go with McNeese State, but I'm not going to do it. Yeah, give me Auburn. And then I do like San Diego State to beat Charleston. Utah State, I think, would fall to 11-seeded Indiana State, a team I'm high on out of the Missouri Valley. And then give me Duke to beat Akron. St. Mary's TCU, 7 versus a 10. Give me the 10-seeded TCU. And then finish it off with Tennessee beating Quinnipiac. So got a lot of solid upsets in there, some crazy ones in the first round. But moving on to the second round, I do have Purdue holding off Texas. Kentucky, I think, would be able to beat Clemson. Then we have South Florida versus Baylor. As much as I like South Florida, you got to go with Baylor in that game. And then finishing it off with Oklahoma versus Marquette, 10 versus a 2 seed. I'm not high on Marquette, but I don't think Oklahoma would get that one. Give me Marquette. All right, Arizona, Michigan State. I do like Arizona in that game. Give me BYU to beat Samford. Florida, Creighton, 6 versus a 3. I really like Florida, but Creighton just proved they could beat one of the best teams or one of the better teams in the country. So give me Creighton. And then Iowa State, I think, could beat Boise State. So literally all chalk here in the second round. Don't see a lot of upsets. But moving on, UConn versus Nebraska, 1 versus a 9. Give me UConn. Then we would have a battle of a defensive team in Princeton and Alabama. I don't think Princeton makes back-to-back Sweet 16. So, yeah, I am going chalk here. Give me Alabama. Vermont, I do think would beat South Carolina. And then North Carolina, Gonzaga. Yes, I do have North Carolina winning. Guys, I just don't see upsets in these matchups. I'm just going to be honest with a lot of you guys. Give me there. All right, Houston, Northwestern. I do have Houston winning that one. And then San Diego State versus Auburn, 4 versus a 5. I do have 4-seeded San Diego State pulling off the win. Duke, I think, would be able to hold off Indiana State. And Tennessee, I think, would beat TCU. I think that might be like the first time ever where I've had all chalk. I think literally every higher seed won in the – or wait, I picked Vermont on accident. My bad. I did mean South Carolina there. My bad. Yeah, but I did pick all chalk in that round. It's just how I saw it coming out. So if that's how it is, that's how it is, I guess. But moving on to the Sweet 16. We have a lot of good teams here with the chalk. But Purdue, Kentucky, I'm honestly going to go with 4-seeded Kentucky here. Kentucky is one of these teams, man, that I am low on when it comes to upset territory in the first round, but I'm also could be very high on them if they can get past that round, get past, the 5 seed, whoever they play. If they play Purdue, man, I think they have the talent to shut Purdue down. I think they even have more talent. And I think Kentucky's a team that can beat literally anyone in the country, or they can lose to anybody. They're one of these teams that's boom or bust come tournament time. This bracketology, I'm going to boom them to the Elite 8, where they will meet Baylor. I think that one, Baylor got the easiest 2 seeds there, so give me Baylor. So there you go. We have 2 upsets there. Moving on, Arizona, BYU. I'm going to go with another 1 seed falling here. Give me my Cougars of BYU, proving it again on Saturday. They can score in very fast fashion. They went on like a 16-0 run at one point, I think, to come back and take the lead over TCU. It was a crazy game. They scored 50 some odd points in the second half, which they very much struggled in the first half, but got the job done. So I do go with BYU there. And then we have a great matchup. 3-seeded Creighton, 2-seed Iowa State. I'm going to give some love to 3-seeded Creighton. Moving on to the Elite 8. Okay. Next up here, UConn, Alabama. I do have Connecticut winning that matchup. And then South Carolina, North Carolina, 6 versus a 2 seed. Why not have some fun again here? Another 2 seed falling. Give me South Carolina, a team I'm very high on in this tournament, advancing on past North Carolina. All right, Houston, San Diego State, 1 versus a 4. I do have the Cougars of Houston winning. And then Duke, Tennessee, rematch of last year's round of 32 game. I do have Tennessee winning that one, though, to move on. All right, so a lot more upsets in the Sweet 16 here. But for a spot in the Final Four, Kentucky, 4 seed, 3-seeded Baylor. I do have 3-seeded Baylor, a team that It seems like I am consistently picking to move on to the Final Four. They beat Kansas this weekend. I think even more impressive showing was how they could come back versus Texas. I think this Baylor team can do a lot of good things. So I like them to move on past Kentucky to the Final Four, where they will meet the Blue Jays of Creighton beating BYU. That would be a tremendous matchup, I think, if we could see it. Could go either way, but I'm going to give some love to Creighton right there. So 2-3 seeds in this Final Four. Next up, we have UConn versus South Carolina. As much as I would like to see South Carolina in the Final Four, I got to go with Connecticut to win that one. And then the final matchup, just consistently seeming like we have these two matching up. These are two Final Four caliber teams, in my opinion. But at this point, I'm more high on 2-seeded Tennessee, who just continues to, we saw the game versus Auburn last Tuesday, or whenever that was. They were down, came back, won that game. We see this here against Alabama. Down, came back, won the game. Dalton Knecht is dominating right now, and it's just tough to stop that. So I do have Tennessee advancing on past Houston. So the Final Four is set. We have 1-seeded UConn, 2-seeded Tennessee, a 3-seed in Creighton, and a 3-seed in the Baylor Bears. So for a spot in the Final Four, Baylor-Creighton, I do have Baylor winning that matchup to advance on to the national championship game, where they will meet either UConn or Tennessee. 1-seeded team versus a 2-seed. I am going to go with Tennessee winning that one over Connecticut. So the national championship game, 3-seeded Baylor, 2-seeded Tennessee. Why not give some love to the Baylor Bears, giving them a national championship game? I think this was a great weekend for them. Reinsures my belief in Baylor. I think this is a very good team. Why not give them the championship over Tennessee? I probably would go with Tennessee if it was the real tournament, but I do want to show Baylor some love. All right, anyway, guys, thank you all for watching this video today. Comment down below your predictions. Stay tuned for more bracketologies here and more conference tournament videos. This is a very good time for my channel, as we have a lot of videos out. But anyway, guys, thank you all for watching. Peace out.